Minister Gums, thank you. You mentioned that you're going to Aruba, I think, next week to talk about the solid waste management. But one of the things that I've seen is that Aruba has a net metering policy in place. So they have pretty clear criteria about who can produce solar. And from what I see from their website, their power company is Elmar, and they will buy the monthly production of the solar power, the extra that's put back into the grid, at 85% of the tariff. So since you're going with the whole delegation, wouldn't the whole discussion about what Aruba has done in terms of their renewable policies make sense to add to your trip, since you're taking a whole delegation anyways?
Thanks for the question, Emil. Let me clarify. This trip basically revolves around the larger waste reforms that are ongoing within the country. It does not include, unfortunately, discussions around electricity. What I will state, but before we can make any discussions regarding what we do with renewable energies, we actually have to address our own renewable energy policy currently. Within the existing renewable energy, the existing energy policy, you can't actually, it's clear that GB is the sole energy concessionaire, and there's also not a policy in place currently that allows for buying back or giving back of any generated renewables towards GB or the grid. That's something I think that the Minister of TEAT has addressed in the previous sort of interventions. She said that she's actually exploring the possibility of net metering, but that discussion really has to be something that's taken in within the whole bigger picture of the energy policy. The reason why is that legally, if anybody wants to net meter, they can't. The suggestion is well noted and well taken, and I will, of course, look into it as a possibility addition to the program, noting that we do have quite a big schedule planned for the 3 days that we are there. But in any case, something well taken, and we'll look into it, and I'll definitely consider it as something to sort of, to hit two birds with one stone while you're there. But indeed, what we have to do, and I think the Council of Ministers discussed this quite extensively, we have to address our own energy policy first, because the possibility of net metering is not currently in our legislation, in our policy documents.
But, sorry, for clarification, but if the point is to go to talk about solid waste management and to learn from your colleagues in terms of what legislative changes they've made and what they've done to make it successful, wouldn't it make sense to apply that same logic, because they do have a net metering policy and they've worked out and they start from the same legislation that we do? Wouldn't it make sense that same type of exploration and discussion?
Yeah, indeed. So that's why I said the suggestion is well noted, but it will be considered. But it's important to realize that this program is something that's focusing squarely on waste reforms. But given the notification by your person, we can definitely consider that for the potential fitting into the program.
Minister, it's been forecasted that the region will experience an invasion of seaweed in the coming weeks. And for St. Martin, this will definitely be no exception. What are you doing in your power as the Ministry of ROMI to ensure that all mechanism is put in place to deal with the surge when arrive?
Thank you, Stephen. From the point of view, I have not yet received those predictions, but I think in a general sense, we have had discussions since taking office around what can be done. There's been particularly in the Point Blanche area, where the seaweed is most prevalent on the Dutch side. There has been discussions around putting a netting around that very small gap in the area of Ground Dove apartment building. That has to be further explored. We're also looking at, in particular with the Ministry of TEAT, how we can actually harness this seaweed into sort of different byproducts. I think a lot of Caribbean countries have done this. I've explored several of these options in my former position at Foreign Affairs, where we had actually a lot of extensive discussions around how we can actually use sargassum in biochemicals, in beauty products. It's something that we have to look at, but for the short term, the discussion is on the netting possibilities within smaller bays. Within larger bays, the capacity, of course, to manage is only possible currently when it's onshore, and that's when it's the most dangerous. The best time to harness is when it's coming into your shore, which we have a capacity issue for. We do work closely with the Nature Foundation in terms of solutions for this, and I will get the update and see how we can sort of match our current practices with what we're expecting in the coming weeks.
The law allows for the possibility of granting a pardon under Article 611 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Why has it been decided to provide a sentence suspension, 116 criminal law book, for the inmate that I understood is terminally ill and not grant a pardon so that he can enjoy the remaining time he still has alive? Please be informed that the inmate in question has been sentenced irrevocably to a 14-year prison sentence in 2024. Due to medical circumstances, this inmate received a suspension of his sentence, schorsing, earlier in 2024 and has been flown abroad to receive medical treatment. It is also important to note that on August 28, 2024, the inmate, through his lawyer, had also submitted a request for pardon, gratie, to the governor. This request was handled in accordance with Article 118 of the Constitution and reviewed with the advice of both the court and the OM. Based on these considerations, the request for pardon was denied by national decree dated 17th of October 2024. The court and the court and the public prosecutor's office were of the opinion that granting a pardon to the prisoner in this case was not the appropriate modality to facilitate his release. The circumstances presented on behalf of the prisoner at the time were deemed insufficient to qualify for a pardon. This is why instead a schorsing was chosen. There are currently still inmates in the Netherlands. How is the ministry ensuring that they are released on time? As I understood, there is currently an inmate that had to be released since the beginning of October, but is still incarcerated. Could you give clarification in regard to this? The inmate in question, or at least the one that we assume it to be, is a prisoner from St. Martin who has been incarcerated in the Netherlands since November 2017. The CCR conducted a digital hearing with the inmate to provide a thorough advisory opinion to the Minister of Justice regarding his potential conditional release. During his detention, the inmate received multiple disciplinary reports, including positive drug tests and inappropriate behavior toward prison staff. Both the CCR and the prison director issued negative recommendations regarding his conditional release. Based on these recommendations, the inmate's release was postponed for 1 year in line with the established procedures. How is the ministry ensuring that inmates that need to be transported to other islands based on the onderlinge regeling, because of, for example, medical reasons, are transported in a timely manner? As I know of situations where an inmate is currently waiting 2 years for transport while he is not medically fit to remain in the Point Blanche prison. Regarding this specific case, it's important to note that an ORD medical request has been submitted, and the OM who has to execute this request is currently awaiting a response. Therefore, the inmate in question is not awaiting transport at this time, as no decision has yet been made on the request. The ministry continues to monitor the situation closely to ensure that all procedures are followed and that the inmate's medical needs are addressed appropriately. We're also hoping that we can resolve this issue within the next couple of weeks. There are a lot of moving parts in requests like this, as they require approvals from Bonaire, from the Netherlands, and we're working diligently to ensure that this inmate can receive the necessary care. Who is in charge of the early release of inmates once they have been irrevocably sentenced? The early release process for inmates who have been irrevocably sentenced begins at the prison, where the calculation of the inmate's eligibility at 2/3 of their sentence is made. The prison initiates the process by preparing a pre-selection report, which is then forwarded to the probation department for assessment. The probation department conducts an interview with the inmate and compiles a detailed report, including recommendations on specific conditions the inmate must adhere to upon release, such as mandatory reporting at the probation department, a location restriction/ban, and electronic monitoring. The prison and probation reports are submitted to the Ministry of Justice. The ministry forwards the entire case file to the CCR, which reviews the reports and provides an advisory opinion to the Minister of Justice. The final decision regarding early release is made by the minister. It is therefore the Minister of Justice who in the end decides whether the convicted person will be conditionally released and also determines the specific conditions attached to such release. Advice and decisions on conditional release are based on the criminal code, the conditional release policy, and case law. I understood that it takes very long for inmates to receive their release date after being sentenced, and when they do, it's inaccurate. Can the ministry look into this? I have to mention that no such issues have been reported to me at this time. However, I understand the importance of ensuring that inmates receive accurate and timely information regarding their release dates, and I will look into this matter to verify the situation. And as I said, I don't know who asked the question, but I thank the MP for the question and for bringing it to my attention. Is there any consideration being given to the introduction of a weekend verlof for inmates close to the ending of their prison sentence, similar to what was done in the Netherlands? Weekend leave is a rehabilitative initiative that offers inmates a gradual and structured transition back into society. During weekend leave, inmates would have the opportunity to reconnect with families, social networks, and potential employers, all of which are critical to ensuring a smooth transition back into the community and reducing recidivism. The concept of weekend verlof, I've been told, has been discussed in St. Martin on several occasions with prison management in 2023 and 2024, including with the use of electronic monitoring to ensure public safety and the integrity of the program. However, while the law currently allows for a general leave, a specific weekend verlof requires a legislative amendment. In addition, we of course also have to look at our human resource constraints at the moment when it comes to this.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
unfortunately, agriculture is a special sector that, if not put in a right perspective, it won't work. So the proven model that can help ensure the sustainability and growth of agriculture on St. Martin, which currently is fragmented and not sustainable in terms of the level of food resilience for the island, which will become more and more a pressing issue in the future looking at global trends and dynamics. For example, recent events, California fires, underscore the fragility of global agriculture supply chains and the importance of developing local solutions. For example, California's role highlights a big issue now that the fires destroy a lot of the farmland because, number one, it is the largest agriculture state in the US. It's also a major exporter and primarily so of almonds, wine, pistachios, dairy, walnuts, among its top exports. And it's also a global influence in certain crops. As a matter of fact, it's responsible for 80% of the world's supply. And so if they go down, we can definitely expect food prices to go up. Before we delve into the opportunities and challenges that lie before us in agriculture, I want to reflect on two powerful principles, one from Scripture and one from the inspirational words of Bishop T.D. Jakes. In Genesis 11:5-8, it is written, "But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth and stopped the building, and they stopped building the city. This scripture reminds us of the extraordinary power of unity and shared purpose. It highlights a profound truth. When people come together with one language, one vision, and one mission, the impossible becomes possible. Now, Bishop T.D. Jakes, in his sermon titled "Destiny Flocks Together," builds on this principle by drawing inspiration from geese flying in formation. T.D. Jakes mentions that if you take a solo flight into destiny, you will eventually lose momentum. Not because you are not great, not because you are not good, not because you are not anointed, but because destiny flocks together. It is who you are with. It is a team effort, and in the process of flocking there is a momentum and a trust that you get when you flock with the right people that you will not get in isolation. Mr. Jakes also draws reference in his sermon to geese who are partners for life. When geese get ready to fly to new locations, they don't do it alone. They fly in a V-shaped formation. Now, when they fly in the formation in structure, in order, without competing with each other, they complement each other. And there are a couple of things that happen when they do that. The one that is up front has the biggest job, Denicio, because he breaks the wind first, so that the next one in the wind is broken by the flapping of the other one's wings, and it passes all the way down the line until they are lifted by the flapping of the wings of the bird in front of them. So I'm lifting by who's in front of me. I'm also lifted by who's beside me. And I'm lifted by my ability to be great in the midst of other greatness, makes me greater, gives me lift. Each bird benefits from the uplift created by the one in the front. As a result, the flock uses up to 70% less energy than if each bird flew alone. It takes 70% less energy to fly if you stop doing it by yourself. So this just shows that without that community bondness, it's almost difficult to do the agriculture as we want it to do, right? Now, there's one caveat to this, though. Now, in order to fly with me and for us to have the formation, you've got to have the rhythm. Because your tardiness, your slowfulness, and your inconsistency slows down the formation, hinders the rhythm, and stops the blessing. So that's a caveat. Now, these words speak directly to agriculture challenges and opportunities here in St. Martin. Farmers, like flocks, should not thrive in isolation, but through connection, collaboration, and shared effort. Just as birds instinctively fly in formation to conserve energy and reach their destination faster, so too can we as a community come together to create a cooperative structure that propels our agriculture to new heights. Now, is this possible? I will briefly highlight the story of CHS Incorporated, a cooperative in the United States that embodies these principles of collaboration and shared purpose. Before CHS was established in 1931, farmers in the US faced significant fragmentation operating independently in a volatile market. The lack of coordinated efforts made it difficult for them to access critical inputs, market their products effectively, and compete with larger entities. However, recognizing the challenges of survival, these farmers pooled their resources and created what we know now as CHS Incorporated. Since its founding, CHS has not only survived but thrived for nearly a century, becoming a pillar of stability and innovation for its members. By transitioning to a cooperative structure, they created a shared medium for investment and operation that benefits all members, from small-scale farmers to large agricultural entities. The structure has proven to be more than just a survival mechanism. It has been a driver of economic growth, innovation, and resilience. CHS has a very unique patronage refund and preferred stock system that serves as additional reward mechanism for its members. Today, CHS Incorporated is the largest farmer-owned cooperative in the United States. Its story serves as a lesson in the power of unity, shared investment, and collective resilience in our agriculture. Cooperatives have experienced significant growth and evolution both in the United States and globally, adapting to economic challenges and contributing to various sectors. So before I close, I will basically say this. Lessons for St. Martin. The cooperative model pools fragmented resources into a united front. Number two, collaboration reduces duplication and inefficiency. Long-term viability and resilience are achievable when members have shared ownership and collective goals, adaptable to St. Martin's context in terms of it can include modern elements like technology-driven farming, renewable energy, and agro-tourism. Today, as St. Martin grapples with challenges in the agriculture sector, I propose that we take an inspiration from the CHS model. By fostering collaboration and establishing a cooperative structure, we can ensure the long-term sustainability and profitability of our local farmers, ensuring that agriculture remains a vital contributor to our island's economy and food resilience. In closing off my part, much like geese in formation, the farmers and ranchers in CHS came together nearly a century ago to pool their resources, reduce individual burdens, and achieve far more collectively than they ever could alone. This corporate model has been the key to their survival, innovation, and prosperity, standing as a beacon of what is possible when destiny flocks together.
SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah, your social and health insurances.
We are going to come for you.
The word from the police to criminals fleeing St. Catherine following the declaration of another state of emergency.
Anthony Lugg reports.
On Tuesday, residents living in the St. Catherine North Police Division woke up to increased police military presence and the usual security checkpoints, which follows the declaration of a state of emergency.
This is not about oppressing law-abiding citizens. We know the persons that we have interest in.
The measure follows last week's unrest in the Old Capital and surrounding areas following the police fatal shooting of reputed leader of the One Order gang, Othniel Thickman Laban. It's understood the area remains volatile, and as a result, the security forces requested immediate intervention to address the escalating threat to public safety and to prevent further destabilization. Already, some criminals have been displaced, and police intelligence suggests they've fled to other communities. Acting Assistant Commissioner in charge of Area 5, Christopher Phillips, issued this warning.
All those persons running up and down out of St. Catherine, anywhere you run to and we need you, we're going to come for you right there. Because, you know, we find that most of the key persons have already, you know, gone out of the parish, but we're going to come at you just the same.
The police operations on Tuesday led to several arrests and seizures.
We picked up earlier a person of interest in the triple murder in Central Village, and investigation is on way with that. Several other persons, an AK-47 rifle was seized earlier. One man arrested in the Central Village area, and earlier we had over 50 rounds seized in the Toys Meadows community.
While the police saw those successes, motorists face challenges. This, as the coordinated surge at the checkpoints led to major traffic pileup in some areas. ACP Phillips has taken note of the concerns.
It's something that we discussed earlier with the management team, and as we go along, we'll be assessing, doing the evaluation of these checkpoints. But we're definitely not going to support that kind of congestion, especially during peak hour. We're going to try our best to manage that.
Meanwhile, businesses will be allowed to open until 9 p.m. on weekdays and 10 p.m. on weekends. Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.